Alright boys, so I just finished doing the Septimont story for the septic tank patch for Wuthering Waves yesterday on stream, and I've gotta say, you guys were right. Septimont ended up actually being pretty damn good. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was going in with not too high of expectations because usually when people overhype stuff, it ends up not being as good as what people are describing, you know, with their rose-tinted glasses and all that. I mean, if they end up seeing some peak in one moment and the rest of the story ends up being shit, they will claim that the entirety of the story actually ends up being good, which it's not. When I actually played through the septic tank patch for Wuthering Waves yesterday, I gotta say, I was enjoying myself a lot. And to be honest, I think that the people on Twitter and overall just around the internet in general are focused on the wrong things. I saw a bunch of posts talking about the leaf action on the ground, how it can just move around depending on how you move or swing your weapon. There were people just sitting there like, oh my god, guys, look, whenever Wolvers steals the sword, the waves end up going in that direction. And it's like, okay, those details are nice, but can we talk about something a little bit more important than that? Now, I wouldn't be talking about this if it wasn't something that I just kept seeing on repeat. There were people that were just talking about the ripples in the water. Now, I can understand wanting to appreciate all the details for a place that you really like, but I mean, why are you focused on the leaves on the ground being pushed whatever direction that you end up sheathing your weapon? Can we talk about the entirety of the map and how this entire place just looks like another Elden Ring DLC? I mean, this place looks beautiful in not a sunshine and rainbows way. And the story and the characters. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of posts extensively talking about how Lupa is in the story, the aura farming that Cartethia did throughout the story, the 2D animation that ended up happening. Now, I know it ended up coming out and people didn't want spoilers, but that's why we have a spoiler tag. If you're not smart enough to do a spoiler tag, and if you're dumb enough to click on a spoiler tag, even if you see spoilers in the post, it says spoiler in the image, and the person talking about it says, this is spoilers, don't click on it, and then you click on it anyway, and then you start complaining about some other bullshit about how you hate spoilers even though you spoiled it for yourself. Maybe you're the problem.
Or is it?
But anyways, aside from that, yes, the leaf details are cool, and the water ripple effects are cool, but that's not something that I'm going to be caring about when I play this game. Now, on to the more important stuff. Before I started the story, I didn't really know what I was going to be expecting. Sure, I was probably going to expect a few hype moments, but I wasn't going to expect anything to be super cohesive or super coherent. I was just expecting the standard story that you would expect from an open world gacha game. Renacita was good. Well, Renacita was a little bit more than good. I'd say that Renacita was a little bit above good, but I wouldn't say that Renacita was anything that was great. But I will say that the visuals for Renacita was great. Here's how it is for me. Black Shores ended up making the story start to become good. And then after that, when Renacita started happening, it went from good to being above good. You know what? I'd say that it even started to become great. But then when I played the septic tank patch, it went from great to amazing, and I'm going to explain exactly why. So upon landing in Septic Tank Land, when I saw the entirety of the region, I was completely taken aback. I was in shock. I thought this place was absolutely beautiful, and I wanted to start exploring immediately. But what stopped me from going through with the exploration was the actual story itself. As I was sitting there with my stream and just listening to the story and actually just not having any of the dialogue be skipped, because whenever there's super important things happening in the story, or whenever I'm doing one of the golden quests, I end up sitting there and listening to the story because they're not really super long. I ended up getting invested in the place's lore. I ended up getting invested in the hierarchy for some of the people in general. I ended up getting invested in their culture and the things that the people value and hold dear to their hearts, and the way that they think, the way that they live, the way that they feel about a lot of things. I just thought that it was all overall very well made. After fiddling around with the global graphics and just the regular brightness and such, I ended up finding a comfortable way that I wanted to start viewing the Septimont experience, and I'm really glad that they ended up introducing that, because I'm gonna be honest, the colors that I ended up having before was really not it, and after a while of learning and tweaking with it, one of my mods, Joiny, ended up giving me a really nice setting, so that's what I ended up playing the rest of Septimont on. Now, I know that this patch is supposed to be focusing on the character that's currently being released, which was Cartethia, but I'm going to be completely honest. Cartethia was cool in the story, yes, yes, no doubt, and the ending animation with 2D plus 3D was really cool. But despite all of the aura farming she was doing, despite how fun it was that she was playing, the person that ended up taking the spotlight throughout this first patch was Lupa. Every time Lupa opened her mouth, or every time Lupa was on screen, me and chat locked in, and she ended up being a really likable, really lovable, and really cool character. Seeing her abilities happen on screen at the same time as we were going through this whole tournament thing was really cool. And this just helps solidify my first take on my first video I made about skipping Cartethia, which it ended up being absolutely true for me. I have no inclination for wanting to pull Cartethia. There is nothing about Cartethia that I want more over Lupa or even Augusta, and I haven't even seen anything about Augusta in terms of combat. Lupa ended up seriously stealing the show, and I'm really glad that they're giving us all these pulls because I really want her and her weapon. I was finding myself feeling really bad for her when she was talking about her headaches, and whenever she was talking about how she was feeling, and then whenever it was showing her and Cartethia interacting with one another, I just felt bad. She looked all kinds of messed up, and I really do think, now this is going to be a little bit of spoilers, ladies and gentlemen, so you probably want to skip this part, but I really do think that she's possessed by Mia or Maya or Mia, what was her name again? Mira? Maya? I don't even know what her name was. I can't remember. I literally just did it and I don't really remember her name. But I'm pretty sure that there's some kind of weird possession going on right now. And I'm pretty sure that through her grief and through her suffering that she's going to try to bring the end of the septic tank patch. I don't know. All I know is I just felt bad for her. We need to get our wonderful pupper fixed immediately. But aside from that, I was really enjoying the angle of Rover investigating where Cartethia could have been, because I was really enjoying this whole sensing thing. It was really reminding me of Dragon Ball, and I love Dragon Ball. And trying to sense her energies from places that she was in and through objects she had interacted with, and just seeing the residual energy that's connected to something like the Dark Tide and Cartethia in general, I just found it really cool, and I found it as a fairly decent way for her to try and find her. A lot of the battle sequences that was going on through it was really good. I really enjoyed that there was a lot of fighting, and I really enjoyed that there wasn't really a moment where I felt like there was too much talking that was going on. It just genuinely felt like a cohesive and coherent story. I never felt like, man, it really just doesn't feel like I'm a part of a tournament because there's just so much yapping and talking going on. It was just, you go in, you learn about some things about the culture, you learn about exactly what's going on, you understand your goal, and you're interacting with the world in the way that you're supposed to be interacting with, going through a tournament that's constantly increasing in its difficulty, fighting alongside Lupa instead of just having to swap in and out, where she's actually out fighting alongside with you, along with the other echoes that you had with you. Overall, it was just a really fun and great experience. And the visuals of the world was just absolutely amazing. The characters do a really great job in reflecting the world, and they're not wearing any clothes that just doesn't match up with what's going on in its surroundings. Everybody fit in, yet everybody had their own unique style, and I really appreciated it. Septimont was presented as a nation of battles, a nation of wills colliding, and that's exactly what we got in their character designs and in their story. The two wills of the people, Lupa and Mia or Maya, or I'm just gonna call her Wiz Khalifa. The two wills of Lupa and Wiz Khalifa. The wills of the two teams as they're fighting against one another as they want to try and win the tournament. The will of Cartethia going against the, well, I don't really know his name, so I'm gonna call him Hugo for the time being. The wills of Cartethia and fucking Hugo going against one another while all of the fighting was going on. We got fighting in game, we got fighting in story, we got fighting in dialogue of arguments. It was just really great, and it didn't feel too overbearing. It didn't feel like the fighting was outweighing the dialogue or the dialogue was outweighing the fighting. The only thing that I was disappointed about was the fact that it felt like it ended too soon. I wanted part 1 to be a little bit longer, but now I'm looking forward to part 2 even more. And I'm going to be able to experience part 2 as Lupa. But anyways, if I'm going to be completely and utterly honest, I would give the story for now, since it's not completed, a 7, or maybe a 7.5 out of 10. But I would give the actual environment and the actual map itself a solid 8, or maybe even 9 out of 10. The story isn't finished, so I can't give it a full score, but I don't want to judge it too harshly. I enjoyed what I was able to experience for the time being, and I hope that I'm able to enjoy even more of what they'll be able to bring in the future. But anyways, I want you to tell me what you guys think. how did you guys feel about the characters and the story? My first video ended up just being completely justified because both Lupa and Augusta ended up stealing my heart throughout this whole thing, and I'm sorry, Cartethia, maybe I'll get you on a rerun, maybe I won't get you on a rerun, but for the time being, Lupa is my #1 priority out of everyone in Septimont. Her tale, just everything about her. Anyways, tell me what you guys think, tell me if you enjoyed part 1 of Septimont, and oh, before I end up ending it off, I am really enjoying this card event where you have to summon the echoes. Like, this is Yu-Gi-Oh mixed in with Pokemon, just without the turn-based combat. I really enjoy watching these echoes fight each other, and it actually does get a little challenging whenever you have to think about it. Like, sure, you can just take enough damage to summon the Infernal Rider, and then, you know, just have a bunch of other peons to support it, but even then, you never know what you might end up going against once you get past that level 7 for the event. And I hope that it ends up staying permanent. My chat did tell me that it will be permanent, but I hope that there's PvP in it as well, because I really am loving and enjoying the fact that this event is fun and engaging, but it doesn't have to always revolve around the character doing some kind of combat or just some stupid cute minigame. This is how you do events in these gacha games, alright? Enslaving your echoes and making them fight in tournaments of your own. This is what echoes were made for. Anyways, tell me what you guys think. Tell me who was your favorite character, your favorite designed character, what you think about the Septed Tank environment in general, and what it is that you're looking forward to the most and what it is that you want the most. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. But of course, I want you all to take care and peace.